So welcome to the City Infrastructure Workshop we've just held in Peterborough. This is the third of a series of events we've been holding with IBM, all about infrastructure in cities. And this one, we held one in Bristol, one in Sunderland. This one in Peterborough was all about the low carbon economy. We had such a senior group of people here, it was fantastic, and really the day was all about discussion and interaction so we could share ideas and come out at the end with a set of actions that would help Peterborough make the most of its low carbon economy. So we started the day really with talking about the importance of working with cities around the country and talking about the context, so the fact that Peterborough's got these strengths in the low carbon economy and it needs to make the most of them. We reflected on where the economy is now, the fact we're recovering from the deepest recession since the 1930s, recovery is quite slow and there are global challenges. We talked about public spending cuts and the fact that public spending isn't going to rise, so we need to make more of what we've got. And we talked about the fact that cities are the only way to tackle those challenges. That actually, if you live in a city, you're 17% more carbon efficient, 10% more productive. These are the places that will drive growth and that will help you deal with the challenges of a low carbon economy. We talked about thinking cities then, and then we started to get on to, well, what's the government context? We were talking about the challenges of policy uncertainty, changes to national policy and how that affected the low carbon economy and what you could do in Peterborough. We talked about the need in Peterborough to think about how you make the most of the cluster of businesses. I believe it was 580 businesses, within 380 businesses within the local economy, really making the most of that and how you bring them all together. We talked about how stability locally could actually make a difference. So although nationally there's uncertainty, locally you can provide certainty, you can provide clarity, you can help businesses get together. And we talked about some of the global trends and the way that affects Peterborough, the fact you've got an urbanising population, you've got more and more technology available, robots potentially taking over. What will that mean for the opportunities within Peterborough and what we can do? And that goes right about those global opportunities affect communities. And we talked about how to work with communities and the way that people want to know where their food's coming from. They're interested in the low carbon agenda, they want to be helped to think about it more. Transparency, trust, some of the ways that you actually get smarter economic growth were also all discussed. And I think what was interesting was we were talking internationally and nationally and locally. And a lot of the day was about thinking about how those things actually come together and how you can implement new solutions and share knowledge of good practice. And that's where we got to when we came on to then thinking about Peterborough. Peterborough does a great deal. I go around the country, I can see how much Peterborough does, particularly in this environmental area. You've got Opportunity Peterborough, you've got a range of organisations working in this space. It's not as widely known as it could be. And that was one of the things we focused on at a national level. How do you raise profile? How do you get it known that you're doing all of this work? How do you finance it? How can you make more of matched funding, for example, that's available? How can you differentiate yourselves? How can you think about the virtuous circle between industry, education and government? How do you get the brand right? How do you make sure that Peterborough is known as an environment capital? How do you align skills and businesses? And again, this is about the national brand, but the local stuff. How do you get skills and businesses working together locally? How do you think about education? That was seen as one of the big challenges. How you get the right skills matched with the right businesses. And really what it came down to, people felt, is it's all about the people. And that's about the brand, and that's about how we make the most of all the skills. So what's next? One of the things that I think was so interesting about this group and very powerful is they were very focused on actions. And we've got a series of actions around making the case nationally and internationally about Peterborough's brand, about making sure that we're thinking about how you can get funding, get access to government departments, how you can actually change the way we think about opportunities locally. A lot of that's happening already with businesses seeing how Anglia works, for example, opportunities to provide services to them. Are there other ways you can do that, bringing together universities, private sector, with brokering organisations? And then the kind of management stuff. How do you make sure all the groups are brought together? How do you make sure they're more than the sum of their parts? And I think we ended the day with a series of actions that certainly everyone around the table seemed fired up about, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next.